Hiya, it's so we're recording this for the Simply Sewing Boxes group. So this is the free motion class that I would normally teach upstairs, but I'm going to do it for you over video. So if you've got any questions, if I miss any information out, if you pop your questions in the comments below the video, then I will get back to you, because it's really hard to do this workshop on my own when I've not got people's questions firing at me at the same time. So we're gonna give it a go. Right, so free motion, I do quite a lot of free motion. So free motion quilting, that one's called raw edge applique, and if I move that out of the way so that we can see the machine. The smaller one, so this is thread painting. It is free motion embroidery, but it is called thread painting, but it's the same thing, just a fancier name for it. So shall I leave that there? Is that all right there? Yeah. Right, so free motion, the rules around free motion, there's only a few. So if I start from the top, so thread wise, so I'm using the Gutterman thread. That's it. So I'm using Gutterman thread. You do need to use a good quality thread, okay. Next up is your free motion foot. So this one on this machine is clear. Sometimes you'll see them where they're a little bit bigger and they're metal, and some that you'll see that's like a C shape, so this front bit's open. That's an open toe embroidery foot. I prefer the clear ones, basically because you can actually see a little bit more where you're going. On your machine as well, I can't show you on this machine because this one does it computerised way, but you need to drop your feed dogs. On most machines, if you pull this out like that, there's normally a switch there, or it might be behind, so it drops the little teeth in your sewing machine that feeds the fabric through, because now we're going to start feeding the fabric through and not the machine. If your machine hasn't got one of them, you can buy a little plastic cover that sits over here. That's what these two holes for here. It actually clips into these holes. You can get a plastic cover. If you are using a plastic cover though, I would pop some sellotape down the edge, because when you're moving your fabric a lot, sometimes it flips up. Okay. Stitch length. Normally, if you can knock it down to 0, because we are controlling the stitch length from now on, not the machine. So that's basically your machine set up for free motion. Now I'm just going to grab a piece of fabric somewhere just to check it's working on. Let me just do it on here. So before you start, just make sure your machine is working. So what we're going to do is, because this is a beginner's class, we're going to just run a few experiments of different stitches. I don't know where the bobbin's gone. Different stitches on the sewing machine, so you can have a look what they look like. Because you can use straight stitch and zigzag stitch, and it gives you a different effect. So if I show you this paper, can you see that? So if you draw yourself a grid out like this, so we've got 9 boxes with 9 different designs. What I might do actually is put this in the group, so you've got it as a printout. That'll probably be the easiest thing. For this kind of stitch experiments, we're using 2 layers of calico. So free motion works on most materials. It really depends on what stabiliser you're using at the bottom. So if you're free motion on something like a denim, because it's heavy weight, you don't need any, she's zoomed in. You don't need a stabiliser underneath, because it's that heavy weighted, it can support the stitches. If you're using a cotton fabric, you can use iron-on stabiliser, tearaway stabiliser. If you're free motion on organza, you can actually buy a wash-away stabiliser. What I normally do though, if I'm doing anything like a cushion, I just put a piece of calico underneath. And for this kind of trial stitching, we're just going to use 2 layers of calico, basically because it's cheaper than interfacing. Right, so what we're going to do, these designs are for you to use to get you like moving material a different way. Okay, now the first thing where people kind of freak out is because you've now got to take it out of your mind that this is a sewing machine. It's now a pen and a piece of paper. Now Kirsty will be laughing because I've tried to teach Kirsty Freemason. It didn't go too well. So yeah, so kind of get out of your mind that your fabric's only going to move the way a sewing machine moves it, because you're going to move it. The next thing as well, what you want to do is obviously keep your hands away from the needle, and you want to hold it here gently. Now if you push down quite hard, you're going to find it really hard to move your fabric, and it means your shoulders will go up to near your ears, and you'll end up feeling like you've been to the gym for 2 hours. It hurts. So this will come with time and practice. You'll start to feel more at ease with the Freemason. Okay, so what we're going to do is going to start first of all, and we want you to do stitches. Front and back like that. Now you do need to move your machine, have your machine going quite quickly but your fabric quite slow. When people start Freemasoning, they hear the machine going quite quick and it feels like you need to move your fabric quick, and you don't need to, because you're going to try and get even stitches. Just go in like that, and if you, like I say, if you hold the fabric lightly, it's really easy to move. So that's your up and down. So let me put my needle down here. So next we're going to go right to left. Now this is where it throws people, because it's really not normal to move your fabric right to left. So we're going to move it like that. So don't cheat and turn your fabric round, which lady tried to do with me the other day. I want you to go like right and left. Did you get to this part, Kirsty?
No.
No.
I'm
Okay.
making a skirt.
Right. So that's moving right to left. Now we're going to move diagonal. Okay. So I'm hoping that you're all kind of, you probably sat at home trying this on your machine, freaking out a little bit. But like I say, any questions, just pop them in the comments and I'll get back to you. So it's purely just getting used to it. Right, so I'm not going to do all of these because I'm going to let you have a play. So that, and this one is diagonal going one way, and then you go over it going the other way. That's called cross hatching. So if you're doing like a sketch like Freemason embroidery, like you would do if you're sketching with a pencil and you want to shade in an area and make it darker, we use the cross hatching. So that's quite a good one to practice as well. Right, I think you ought to come back. I'm going to send you this video and you can have a go at home. Right, so now we're going to concentrate on like curves, okay? So this is where you do need your machine kind of running at, so Kirsty's just glaring at me. You do need it running quicker because it's hard to explain. I'll probably show you in a minute. But if you're running your machine quite quickly, your stitches manage to go around the curves and make it curvy. If you're going slower, you end up with points around your curves, and we don't want that. Okay, so if I move my sewing machine here, so we're gonna, so if I, so you want to be, keep your fabric moving and don't be scared. So if I try and run it slower and try and do a corner, that's not great, but you can see points there where if you're moving it faster, and it's actually easier to get round, but I think it is, a corner. so if we go on to this one, so we're just going to try corners like that. Let's cut that off. And I'm going to let you try the others. I will do the big circle one, and then I'm going to show you how different they look with the zigzag stitch. Okay. Don't worry about my thread, I've gone over there. I can cut it off afterwards. Move it out of the way. I'm not going to move it out of the way because I'm keeping it. Right, so that's that. Right, so just before I move on to the zigzag stitches, free motion embroidery is different to free motion quilting. So free motion embroidery is meant to look sketchy, so it's not like a perfect look, if you get what I mean. We can have lines that are a little bit out of shape, and we can go back over the same lines to make it look sketchy. Free motion quilting, that's a lot more regimented, where you need your stitches the same and you can't go back over a line that's already been sewn. Okay, so it's like trying to learn two crafts, trying to do each other one. So with zigzag stitch, so I'm going to set a zigzag stitch. Right, so we're going to do, if you draw yourself another 9 up again, in case he's looking at me. No. Right, so zigzag. So now this is up to you. I'm gonna just take that down a little bit and make it a little bit wide. It's up to you. You can play around with your widths with your zigzag because you get different looks. So if I show you what I mean, so if I go quite slow, it's like a satin stitch, or I can move the fabric fast, or I can big a zigzag or slower. So it's purely down to, so if I make it a little bit bigger, so the width of the zigzag, so that's how you get a different look, and that's just on your straight line up and down. So if I move that, so I'll show you the differences once I've done the whole thing. Right, so we're going side to side. So this is nice if you want a rougher effect, because this gives you a thicker line and like a sketched line. That's quite nice if you're doing like a sketchy look. You know, if it's something like with fur on, like a rabbit or something, you can go around the outside of that and it looks like fur. This is just nodding her head, so that'll be... Right, so that is side to side. Right, I won't do the diagonal, I'll let you have a play with that. I'm stuck on my bobbin somewhere. But I will show you the circles. So if I come down, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller actually. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. I'm just stuck on. Okay. So you get different looks for the circles. There's one thing I forgot to show you. Let's just put that on. Right, if I show you this quickly, we'll come over here. So that's how different your straight stitch looks in zigzag, and then again going across you get a different effect for different sketchy looks. I'm just going to go back to this one at the bottom, and I'm going to move over to a straight stitch again, because that one is a quilting pattern and it's called stippling. Okay, so that's quite a good area to fill. If I get this right, so if I show you, so this here is the stippling, so you can colour in an area. The flowers I've done, I don't know whether you can see the detail on this, but that's straight stitch. Okay, now where I've coloured the water in, that's going side to side with a zigzag, because like I say, it gives you a thicker line, so colouring in, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to sew, and it's a thicker line, so you get more like definition. Right, so with the stippling, so the rules around this is you can't have any points and you can't cross over lines. Right, so I'm going to give it a whirl. So, because I quilt most of my quilts like this because it's the easiest. I need to knock that down to 0. It's the easiest kind of quilting pattern. There's no kind of rules where you go. It's when I taught this to the kids when they did the quilting festival, they said it looked a little bit like seaweed. It does actually when you. So it's quite a quick pattern and it covers like a big area quite quick. So that's one to practice. Yeah, I keep getting stuck on this. Right, so next on to kind of how you get your design. So if you're artistic, which I am not, you could go, well, sometimes I do kind of free motion completely, like wing it. Other times I'll draw, other times I'll draw it out. Now normally I will draw something out on tissue paper, and I've not got any here today, so this is bog standard A4 paper. If I'm using tissue paper though, I use 2 layers of tissue paper.
You have to just draw your pattern?
That's to draw the pattern on, because somebody was talking about this the other day actually. You know the disappearing pens? Because I do all my hand embroidery and free motion like this, drawing it on, like I say, tissue paper, not normally A4. I do my hand stitching this way as well, because we've found, and talking to other people as well, it's a little bit of an issue. So the ones that disappear over time tend to come back, and the ones that wash out come back under extreme heat. Well, not extreme heat really, it's like we've got quilts hanging up in the festival of quilts, and the lights from the quilts obviously kick out a bit of heat, and the pen was starting to come back. And then we've known it, if we've flew a quilt out to another country, you know, with the cold air and the aeroplane, it's come back then as well. So I know with this, once I tear the paper off, it's gone and the stitching's left. So I do all my hand embroidery. I think, Kirsty, actually you did one of that, didn't you, start a lockdown with the with the tissue paper?
Yeah, and then it just perforates it, so you can just pull it up and it perforates it.
This is exactly the same with a sewing machine. The downside is when you're sewing, hand sewing embroidery, you can have the piece of paper lying on top of the fabric and you're stitching. I'll show you another video about that, but you're stitching through the paper, and
I think that's what I did, a hand stitch one.
And then you pull it off and then your stitches are on top. With free motion, your design's actually going to come, we're going to stitch it that way, but your design's going to come out that way, if that makes sense.
Back to front. Back to front.
So if you're writing anything on free motion, reverse your letters, because otherwise it'll come out backwards, okay? So this is how I do most of the drawings, and if you want to do the raw edge applique as well, I will show you how to do that once I've done this. So basically what I'm going to do is, I don't know if this machine's going to let me do it or is, what I've done here is actually pulled the bobbin, I've got a pin, put to the top by putting my needle down, holding on to the thread and pulling the bobbin through. So it means now we've got 2 threads sat on the top there. this is because if we don't do this, your bobbin will get wound up underneath on the right side of your free motion, if that makes sense. So basically what I'm going to do is free motion. I'm just going to do a straight stitch, because what we can do after just make a funny noise. That's another reason why I don't use it. The downside in using this technique is it will blunt your needle pretty quick, so it doesn't hurt your machine or anything, but if you're free motioning and then going back to sewing, I would change your needle. You're not doing normal sewing. I need to go back to Right, so let me have a look first. Oh, there you go. I've got a crease in it. But never mind, you've got the idea. Right, so that is your outline of your flower. So it looks pretty basic at the minute, but that means because you've got your outline there, again, this is why I use tracing paper, because you'll see in a minute, you can tear this off. You see, tissue paper is lighter on your stitches, so it's not going to pull your stitches where this A4 paper might. And please don't use baking paper or tracing paper, because it's an absolute nightmare.
So tissue paper only?
Yeah, well, yeah.
That could go for tracing a picture as well? Yeah,
for tracing a picture, because it's easier to pull off. But the only reason I use 2 layers, I don't know if you found this when you was doing the hand embroidery one, if you're using 1 layer of tissue paper, as soon as the needle hits it, it splits. So your second layer is, it's like it's stabilising that top layer, but it's still light enough for you to pull off. So I'm just going to pull these out. Now, before I start stitching more detail on it, I can't get the paper out. I will show you how to do the raw edge applique. So what I will do, so imagine you wanted that flower as fabric. You would do exactly what I've just done here, but that side of your drawing, you could either use some 505 spray or pins to do your flower design, okay? Once you've stitched it, then you trim the patch away to leave your flower. So it will have raw edges, but that's the good thing. I don't know where a lady was on about the other day where she'd seen a free motion washing line on a picture, and she showed me it looked really good. So the texture of it just makes it look authentic. It says, I need tracing paper next time. Right, got most of it off anyway. Right, so that's the back of your design. So now, because you'll have, obviously I haven't, but because you'll have 2 sets of these samples, one with straight stitch and one with zigzag, it's like being back at school, like with the science experiment, going what worked well with the straight stitch, what worked better with the zigzag stitch, because you can mix and match different stitches to cause a different effect. So I know it's creased, but we're going to add some detail to make this flower look a little bit more substantial. So I would, just to get a sketchier look, just go over those lines to make it stand out a little bit. And it's even really good because I actually prefer it, you know, if you're not exactly on the line to follow it, I actually think it looks nicer as a sketching. Let me just cut that. That's going to get on my nose, so I'm going to cut that thread off. Right, that's it. Just going to give the petals a bit more detail. So well, because it's coming up to Christmas, that time of year, it's nice to free motion some Christmas designs on calico, 2 layers, because then you cut it off. If you get a blank card, you can cut your calico off just a little bit smaller than the card, put your normal sewing machine foot back in and zigzag around the edge of the card to sew it onto the card. Looks really nice. Just thought I'd tell you that. Right, so just ignore the crease going right through my flower. So, but that's how you make a bit more detailed. So that's about it at the minute. What I might do is in the group is just pop some designs for you to have a practice at. Find some Christmas designs and yeah, see how you get on. But give it a go. Any problems, any questions about sewing machine feet or thread or anything at all, just pop a comment, like I say, and I'll get back to you, because it's difficult not having you all here firing questions at me. So I think
can I ask a question?
Of course you can.
As you've done it in black there,
Yes.
just for an example,
Yeah.
could you do like one petal like the stem green and the petals red, and
Yeah.
would it look effective?
It would do. It is good to have a practice with different threads. So a lot of free motion you will see will be covered in black, because it's meant to be that sketchy. But you can fill it in with different, if you wanted to do them bits there, different colours. There's no rules really. Anything else?
No, just want to know, it would look nice, wouldn't it, coloured in?
It would, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Right, wow.
That's a question from me.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Because it's quite nerve-wracking doing it workshop on my own. But thank you for watching, and we'll be doing the quilting workshop very soon.